I surely hope one of those thumbnails were good, because I'm on the front porch and I'm dying out here in this humid. Hey guys, it's Ivy. Welcome back to my channel, and it's been a long time. I haven't been wanting to A, read very much, and B, talk about books that I'm not reading very much. So I did my makeup, not my hair, and decided to get some videos out. So for this video, I'm doing my May and June wrap up. I'm just doing them together. It's just gonna be easier to do it all in one and edit it and get it out. Also, it's been so long that I have to like check and remember what I read. So the first book that I read was Elevation by Stephen King, which I think I gave like 1 star. It was like not my favorite Stephen King book. I really didn't like it. I wasn't engaged with the story. It's about this guy who continuously loses weight and stays the same weight, and he has next door lesbian neighbors. That's like literally like the premise of the story. Like, it's not very good. So yeah, moving on. The next book that I read was Burn Our Bodies Down by Rory Power, and this book is a horror novel. It's YA. She is the author of Wilder Girls, which is one of my favorite books of all time, so this was one of my most anticipated releases of the year. This book is about a girl named Margot, and it's just her and her mother, and she always wonders like where the rest of her family is, why they don't talk to the rest of her family and whatnot. And she ends up finding this journal, and this leads her on to want to know the answers to a bunch of questions, and she ends up calling her grandmother, her mother's mom, and running away there. And they live on this like cornfield, her grandmother does, and there's always these fires happening, and when she gets there they pull this girl out of the fire, and the girl looks exactly like her, and she's like super confused about this. And so she starts to find out, you know, her mother was a twin, and all these weird things are happening. And listen, anything I say about this book will never give it the justice that it deserves, because it is amazing. It was a 5 out of 5 star read for me. I really didn't see a lot of what was happening coming, so I really enjoyed that. There were just so many twists and turns, and the corn setting made it just like so atmospheric and mysterious, and I just wholeheartedly love this novel. Definitely pick it up. The next book I read, some of these books, okay, some of them I read audiobooks, some of them I read ebooks, so I don't have them, and then some of them like I did have here in Indiana with me, but then when I flew back to Vegas for a week, I took some of them back there and left them in my room, so I don't have them. One of them is the Sailor Moon Eternal Edition Volume 4. This one I gave 4 out of 5 stars. I didn't enjoy it as much. This one had daughter, father, incest, so I didn't like that part. I don't know why that had to happen. It didn't make sense to me. I don't really know. So I didn't give it 5 stars. Because it didn't, I was confused the whole time. I was like, what? I have no idea what's going on. I had to message my Aunt Kayla and ask her what was happening, and it was just confusion, so I couldn't give it a full 5 stars. The next book I read was The Half-Life of Molly Pierce by Katrina Leno, and Katrina Leno is becoming one of my favorite authors of all time. This is the second book I've read from her, and I really enjoyed it. I give it 5 out of 5 stars. It is a book about a girl who is missing parts of her life, and she starts going down on this path to figure out like why she's missing them, because she sees this accident, and the guy knows her, but she doesn't know him, so she doesn't understand why. So then she starts getting involved with his brother, and like everything seems so familiar to her, but she's not really sure what's going on. So she wants to start answering the questions she's asking herself. And this book deals with a lot of mental health representation, and it was done very delicately and very beautifully in my opinion, and I really enjoyed that. So that was why I give it the 5 out of 5 stars. Also, I'm so sorry if you guys can hear these neighborhood dogs going like bananas. Like I don't even know what they're barking at. So maybe it's that delivery guy. I don't really know because they're on this side. I don't know, but they're annoying. Probably like barking in this entire video, and it's probably so annoying. I'm so sorry. I don't know what to do. I don't have a light to film anywhere else. Okay. So the next book I read was Paperbacks from Hell by Grady Hendrix, and this I gave like 3 stars. It's just like Grady Hendrix like talking about the book covers like over the years and stuff like that, and like what the books were. I did learn a lot about V.C. Andrews that I didn't know in this book. Like the original author, she only published like 6 of her books. Everything else was written by a man because she died, so he just used her name, which I found very interesting. So I'm actually going to unhaul this. It was good, but I just don't really need to keep it because I'll probably never read it again. The next book I read was The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes by Suzanne Collins. This was one of my most anticipated releases, as I'm sure with the rest of you were anticipating this. However, I didn't care that it was following President Snow because I love villains. That's not the part that bothered me. The part that bothered me was this book was extremely boring and slow, and it made no sense why it was published. Like, I really did not enjoy it whatsoever. It could have been like 280 pages, and it's big, and it really didn't need to be, and I won't be continuing on in the series. I give this like 2 stars. That's generous because I really hated this book. I probably actually gave it like 1 star actually if I look at Goodreads. And now there's a train. The dog stopped barking. Now there's a train. I can't catch a break. This video is probably terrible. Sorry. The next book I read, I listened to on audiobook, and that was Clap When You Land by Elizabeth Acevedo. And I loved With the Fire on High last year, so I was anticipating this book and very excited to pick it up when it was released. And I love Elizabeth's voice, so when she was narrating this herself along with another female, I forget her name, I knew I had to listen to it on audiobook. So this book is about 2 sisters who don't know about each other, and one's in America and the other sister is in the Dominican Republic, and their father dies, and this leads them on the path to finding each other. It was just so beautiful and so heartwarming and touching, and there were struggles happening along the way, and then they figured out how to be there for each other through that, and it was just so good. And I really recommend the audiobook, and I did give this book 5 out of 5 stars. The next book I read was Winterwood by Shay Earnshaw, and I love this book so much. This was a reread for me, not my first time reading it. One of my favorite books of all time, and I did give it 5 out of 5 stars again. This book is about a girl who is a witch. Her name is Nora, and she finds lost things in the woods, and she ends up finding this boy, and that just sets the story off, and fireworks happen. It is so magical. Definitely pick this one up if you haven't yet. If you haven't, I don't know why, because it's worth the hype. Next up is King and the Dragonflies, and this is by Kaysen Callender, and this book is about a boy who loses his older brother, and he believes his older brother has came back as a dragonfly down at the bayou, and his brother visits him in his dreams. This book is about King, who starts to question his sexuality along with one of his other friends. This book deals with racism and abuse and very tough subjects. It is middle grade, but I think it's a very important book for young readers to pick up and read. It can help with people who are dealing with the same struggles and let them know that, like, you know, things are gonna be okay. Also, this setting of this is in Louisiana, and they do visit New Orleans, so it's a very atmospheric book as well. I just think this was so important and delicate and beautiful, and I love Kaysen's writing. It's so stunning. Definitely pick this one up as well. It was a 5 out of 5 star read for me. Next up, I read Empire of Storms by Sarah J. Maas. I was continuing on in my reread of Throne of Glass. We don't need to go into too much detail about this one because obviously I did give it 5 out of 5 stars. It's my favorite series. These books are just comfort food for me, so I just love listening and reading to them. They're just amazing. The next book I picked up was Once More Upon a Time by Roshani Chachki, and this was an Audible like free thing, and it was, I didn't like it. I really didn't know what was going on. It's a fantasy novel. I really don't even know how to explain to you guys what happened because I don't really know myself. I don't know if it was because I really didn't pay attention or what, but I didn't like it, and that's really sad because I really love Roshani's writing, but yeah, I just wasn't. The next book I picked up was a book that was on my 20 for 20 list, and that is Girl Out of Water by Laura Silverman. This book is about a girl who lives in California, and her aunt is in an accident in Nebraska, so her and her father have to leave California to go take care of her aunt and her cousins, and this is like her big summer with all of her friends, so she's really sad that she has to leave. However, she starts to learn more things about herself and feel a little bit more free by leaving her hometown, and she meets a boy named Lincoln, and he is a skateboarder, and it's a pretty big point in the book that he only has one arm, so I do want to talk about the representation there because it's amazing that he's still a skateboarder and he's still so comical and fun and just a bright person, even though he has this disability, but he does not let it take away from his life at all. And I just thought it was really nice that Laura wrote Lincoln like that, and their romance is just so cute. I loved it, and I gave this book 4 out of 5 stars. The final book I read in June was The Chosen Ones by Veronica Roth. This is her newest sci-fi fantasy adult novel, and this book is about chosen ones, and they beat the Dark One, and then they're in their world where the Dark One is already defeated. This actually could have been book 2 for me, and then we wouldn't have needed a sequel because it throws you in right in the middle of a story. You don't get the beginning of the story, and then they're thrown into a new world where the Dark One is still alive and they need to beat him again, and it was good. I give it like a 3.5, but it was not like, it could have been better, I think, if this would have been book 2 and book 1 was this, and then there was no sequel, because I really don't think this needs a sequel. But yeah, so I probably won't pick that up because I feel pretty solid with how this ended. So I do recommend it because it was good, but just know you're going to be thrown in the middle of the story. But there is like mixed media format in here, which I'm trying to find, which I can't right now, like newspaper clippings and stuff like that. So that was pretty cool. So kind of looks like this, if you can kind of tell. But yeah, there you guys have it. Those are the books that I read in May and June. Let me know what you guys read in the month of May or June or right now or whatever. I did have some really good reads in there, so it wasn't all terrible. I'm just reading at a really slow pace. Again, if you can hear the dogs in the train, I'm so sorry. I don't know what I'm gonna do. I have more videos to film, but like, it's annoying, and if the camera's picking it up, it's fucking annoying. Alright, I'm raging. I hope you guys have a beautiful day, and thanks for coming to this terrible video. Bye.